Welcome to Stronger Together, a new podcast series presented by Impact Community Services. I'm Tanya O'Shea, Managing Director of Impact with a bachelor's degree in psychology.
And hi, I'm Kate Buckland, Impact's Communications Officer with over 2 decades of experience as a journalist and communications professional.
Impact prides itself on helping people improve their lives, and in this podcast, we'll delve into a wide range of issues that affect our overall health and well-being and discuss the challenges that affect each one of us in the current social climate.
The Stronger Together podcast may contain discussions on sensitive topics that could be triggering or distressing for some listeners. Information on where to seek help and support will be provided at the end of this episode. Please prioritise your well-being while listening. Before we begin, we wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, work and meet. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, traditions, the culture, hopes and values, not only of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, but for all Australians. Now let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to our very first episode of Stronger Together. My name is Tanya.
And my name's Kate, and today we're going to be talking to you about mental well-being.
Mental well-being, Kate. I love this topic. It's a bit of a passion project of mine.
Yes, mental well-being is such a hot topic at the moment. We've come out of COVID, we've gone straight into the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis, and a lot of people out there are really struggling with their mental health.
100%. And I think, though, in saying we resonate with it, I don't know that we all completely understand what mental well-being is, because it's not something that we can actually see. It's not that tangible thing that we sort of look at a leg and we know whether it's a broken leg or not. It's quite complex for us to get our minds around sometimes, this whole concept of mental well-being.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit, Tanya, about what mental well-being actually is.
So it's a bit of a mix of things. And one of the ways that we've been doing some education here at Impact is to use a scale, I guess, something that's very simple. It's using simple language, and it's something that we have borrowed that we're using. So it's really useful if we can use a scale that has already been created, like the Flourishing scale, which gives us some useful language. It's something that we can associate with. So to give you an example, I lead a purposeful and meaningful life. My social relationships are supportive and rewarding. So we're getting the gist that this is about connection. It's about socialisation, the people that we're connecting with. It's about us waking up with purpose and feeling like that we have something of purpose to actually do in our lives. The way that we're actually feeling, whether we feel competent, whether we feel capable in what we're doing, the ability to do things, and our belief in ourselves as actually being a good person. You know, do we actually believe that we are a good person when we are putting ourselves out there? And we also think about optimism, you know, and about people's optimism for the future. Now, let's face it, Kate, it's pretty tough out there at the moment. People are getting thrown with all sorts of challenges every day.
It is, and so many people are finding their optimism at an all-time low. We're hearing lots of things like, I don't have much hope for the future. I feel like I'm never going to get anywhere. I feel like due to circumstances, I'm unable to achieve anything. It's really tough.
And the language, you know, and hearing that. Interestingly, that type of language creates something that's called the social contagion, that actually, just like the flu, it starts to spread and it creates this ripple effect, you know, that goes out into families, it goes out into communities. Everyone that we then come into contact with, that language that we're using when we're not feeling that hope, when we don't have that belief, that's then being passed on to other people, and sometimes we don't even realise the effect that can then have on other people.
And I think sometimes we can see that ripple effect coming right down from the top, right down from the media, the influence that the media, social media has on people. It's such a big part, particularly social media, of the lives of most people now. And you can see that happening, people sharing that lack of optimism, other people picking it up, the stories coming out of the press. It's doom and gloom a lot of the time.
And many times when we're opening ourselves up to social media, when we're watching the news, sometimes we're actually giving our power or our control over to other people, because all we're doing is absorbing that content in. I can't even put a number on it anymore about how much content we're absorbing every day. I don't know what the research is saying. I'm just going to say it's a lot. There's a lot of information that is coming to us every day. And for some people, from the moment they open their eyes in the morning, they have got their phone by their bedside, they're picking up their phone and they're starting to scroll through their social media feed. They might be putting the news on or reading the news articles. So from the moment their eyes open, they've got this content that is coming, that they're being fed. And effectively what they're doing is handing the control over to someone else. The remote is almost going over to someone else. The power is going to them about what they're then going to consume.
See, that for me brings to mind the concept of doomscrolling.
Ah.
And I think when we engage in that kind of behavior, we get stuck so easily. We get stuck in that negative loop, the what if, and it can expand from just being small personal circumstances to world events and wars. And I know my teenagers are a perfect example of getting stuck in this doom scrolling cycle. So social media has a huge role in that kind of thing. And it has a real and very, very tangible knock-on effect with our mental health, I think.
Absolutely. And there is such a simple way to stop it, because it's a pattern. It's a pattern that we're creating. So that pattern is a habit. So, we've created this like super highway in our brain, this pattern that's now going, where's my phone? As soon as I wake up, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Grab the phone. The pattern is scrolling. So we're creating that habit. That's what we do every morning before we have our coffee, before we have breakfast, before we launch into the shower or whatever to go about our day. And the simplest thing that we can do for ourselves to take back control is to disrupt the pattern, to actually stop that behaviour.
That digital detox. Yesterday I left home without my phone and it highlighted to me, I need to do that more often, because I was, where's my phone? I need my phone. Going to pick up my phone. It's not there. So for me now, that's going to become a really conscious habit to break away from that and purposely leave my phone at home so I can start to break that cycle.
Yeah. I'm hearing you say that and I'm going, I don't know that I could actually do that. I don't know that I could leave my phone at home.
It has come with me again today, I will admit it.
Someone may need to contact me, or I may need to use it for something. So that may not be the answer for everyone. However,
true.
However, something so simple as maybe leaving our phone charging overnight in a different room, somewhere way away from the bedroom, down the other end of the house, might be something simple that might start to disrupt that pattern of picking up that phone every day.
Absolutely. All those, quiet set periods of time where you say, for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to focus on something else.
And guess what, Kate? You're taking back control.
Exactly.
You're breaking the habit. You're scratching, well, for old people like me, we talk about scratching the record, but we're scratching the record. We're doing something different that's disrupting a pattern that may not be serving us. And I think it's really important to call that out, because for some people, that pattern may be serving them. They might go, you know what? I don't need to do any of that stuff because this is working really well for me. when you're talking about this thing around, am I optimistic for my future? Do I believe in myself? Yeah, I've got all of that covered. They're in this small percentage of people who are flourishing. And let's talk about that a little bit more in a tick. But they're in this small percentage of people who are flourishing. So what we're really talking about when we're talking about disrupting that behaviour is more for people who are going, you know what, this actually, when you're talking about doom scrolling, I get that. I get that it's actually affecting my mood. I get that it's having an effect on how I'm turning up in my relationships, in my workplace, in my community.
And that can be profound sometimes.
100%. So this is when we need to disrupt it. So let's be clear about that. It's about coming back to basics, right? Is this behaviour serving me, or is it helping me? Is it harming me? Whatever language you want to use around that. But effectively, what is this actually doing for me? If it's helping me,
great.
And you can't see me, I got a thumbs up. That is awesome. Thumbs up. However, if it's not, this may be an opportunity to make one small change, and it might be the only change you do initially, but one small change might be just charging that phone somewhere else. You take control about what you do when your eyes first open in the morning. That doesn't include handing it over to someone else by scrolling through your social media feed.
That's right. And small changes can all add up over time to a big impact.
Absolutely.
One small change can change the course of your whole day.
100%. And it means, we're back in control, right? We get to decide what we do next.
So talking about flourishing,
Yeah.
and we've just had a big discussion around the impact of technology. Can technology be used to help us into a state of flourishing? What do you think?
I do. So let's talk a little bit about flourishing before we dig into technology. So there's a bit of work that Keys has done around people who are living this life where they feel like psychologically, cognitively, physically, they're able to turn up and pretty much live their best life in its simplest form. So they're doing really well, So let's put a term on it called flourishing.
That's where we all want to be. Let's
face it. We all want to be flourishing. However, from the research that Keys has done, what they've found is that only 20% of people at any point in time are actually flourishing. So if you think about your family, your community, the nation as a whole, that's a pretty big gap, in between 20% who are, doing, well. Stuff still happens for them, but they're resilient enough to go, I've got this and continue on. But then we've got a portion of the population, a significant portion at any given time, up to 80% potentially, who are languishing, who aren't doing so well. That's the percentage of the population that we're incredibly interested in.
See, that statistic really speaks to me. What is different and what can we do to put ourselves into a state of flourishing? And it's just really interesting to think that there's such a massive difference there.
Absolutely.
So then I guess the question is, how can we help ourselves to step into a state of flourishing? What can we do every day, something that is practical and easy to apply that can help us to flourish?
So let's come back to your question about technology. I love that technology can support us. It adds value to just improving our lives in general, right? And it's something that I'm using at the moment because what I'm trying to do in my personal life is be more mindful. Oh, it sounds like a super simple concept. However, I had a mindfulness coach because I couldn't quite nail this on my own. I was getting caught up in this busyness of life, and I felt like I was on a bit of a, what do you call it, Groundhog Day. I
stuck in a loop.
Oh, I'm visualising this little hamster wheel, just ding, 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 where everything is just becoming so automated that I'm not stepping back and going, what's just happened there? You know, when you jump in the car and you get to your destination and you go, how did I get here again? Hang on, wait on, because, you know, I know
We've
that
all done
road.
it.
I know that road so well, and my mind just goes to whatever has happened in the day or going off chattering about other things, and then I've gotten to where I want to get to. So, you know, that's such a great example, and everyone can resonate with you know, you get in the car, you're going your normal route, you get home and you go, how did I get here? Our mind is doing that for us all the time because it's helping us out, right? We don't want to be putting energy into recreating these patterns all the time. However, mindfulness, I guess, gives us that opportunity to step back. So for me, and really appreciate and notice internally and externally what is going on, good, bad, whatever that is, just for appreciating what it is for what it is. So I wanted to be better at that. I wanted to implement more of that, particularly into my workday. That's where it was really tripping me up. So one of those practices that I'd like to get better at is meditation. Not for everyone. You can call it stillness. You can call it whatever you want to, creating space, whatever works for you. But for me, my meditation practice, I wanted to get more consistent around that. So let's talk about technology. So I have this thing called a muse. So you put it on your forehead, you put it on your head, you strap it around behind your ears, and it is measuring your little waves that you're sending out to let you know what level of stillness, and it does bird chirping and all sorts of different things, but we won't go into, I'm not promoting a Muse product here, but it's more about technology. So this is aiding me to better understand the benefit or the effect, what is actually going on for me when I'm taking that time out to meditate. So it's a beautiful example of how technology is supporting me. So it's like training wheels. I'm putting these training wheels on while I'm trying to commit and learn to meditate, and the training wheels are then giving me feedback, biofeedback on this is what that experience was like for you during those 10, 15 minutes. Let's face it, I started at 5 minutes, but I'm slowly building on that. So it's then giving me feedback around that experience. So technology actually does have an important part to play for some of us.
That's really interesting. I certainly use technology on a more basic level. Again, I do get a lot out of meditation, but I will use it, Spotify, for example, and I will listen to guided meditations, positive affirmations. And when I do these things, I can feel my heart rate slowing. I can feel my muscles relaxing. And it's something I try to focus consciously on during that time. And it took some practice. And I agree, it's absolutely not for everybody. But for those who can benefit from it, it can be fantastic. And even on that basic level, it can be really useful.
So as we're exploring technology, something that many people have and is pretty easily accessible is Fitbits, whatever type of thing, but
Fitness
similar
trackers,
things that we can wear. So it's just wearables that are allowing us to track our data, track exercise, track one of the things, because I am in a sedentary job all day, I'm sitting at my desk, my Fitbit reminds me at 10 to every hour that I need to walk another 250 steps or however many. Sometimes I have not walked 250 steps in an hour, which I'm embarrassed to say. Therefore, I've got this little thing that pings on my phone to go basically, get up, stand up, go for a walk. And it's only 250 steps. And I've got this route that I go down the steps, up the steps, outside, just to do my 250 steps so that I've had some sort of activity.
So I think that's a great tool.
A bit of a break because, again, part of well-being, and particularly our mental well-being, is that we're having breaks. We're allowing our mind just to have some time out. And sometimes we do that as part of transitions. So a transition might be getting up and making yourself a coffee and making a deliberate effort to be in that moment of when you're actually getting up out of your seat, how you're feeling, what you're noticing in your body, taking a look out of the window, looking around your environment. And it might only be for a minute. It might be only for 2 or 3 minutes as you make your coffee and you go back to your seat. But it is just enabling that time just to bring yourself back into the present time and allow your mind just to have a little bit of space from you, just constantly in that moment, digging in, doing what you need to do, getting it done, ticking a box, getting away from that to-do list and just going, we're just going to have a break. And you would be amazed at how re-energized, exactly what you said, Kate, the re-energizing that can happen in just a few moments.
That's it. And, on another note, if we're thinking about productivity, that process of getting up, walking away, re-energizing ourselves, taking a few deep breaths can actually increase our productivity as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, are there any other smaller, easy to do things that people can do to help push them into a state of flourishing, things that are easy to work into their day-to-day lives?
Kate, would you like to come for a coffee? I'm
I'd
just
love
heading
to.
down to the staff room.
That
Would you like
sounds
to come down
great.
with me? And we're going to chit-chatter down the hallway.
Yep.
We're connecting.
Social
We're
connection
socialising.
is such a big thing, and it's something that gets so overlooked at the moment. We all hide behind our screens.
We do. So technology, I guess, has enabled us to do some stuff, particularly through the pandemic, that we actually probably didn't think at the time was possible. However, you can't beat face-to-face connection with others
exactly
when you
right.
get that opportunity. So reaching out, it might be a colleague you're just having a water cooler conversation. One of the team a few months ago now, but I love doing it. I was coming back from doing my 250 steps break, and she said, "Oh, can I catch up with you? I just need to have a chat about something." And I was walking up the steps, and I went, "You know what? We can have this chat as we're walking up and down the steps." So we actually spent our 10-minute meeting walking up and down the steps. So I was completely, whilst I was focused, I'm hoping that my workplace health and safety manager isn't listening, because I was focused and hanging on to the handrail as I'm walking up and down. But I was in that moment, I was completely committed to our conversation and engaged in it, but I was getting this other benefit of physical activity as well as that connection. Now, I guess it's different for each of us. For some people, they're quite isolated. They may not get those same opportunities that, in a workplace, friendships. And one of the things when I go for a walk, so I'm very fortunate. I live in a beautiful part of the world, in a regional area. So here in Bundaberg, I live close to the beach, and I get to walk near the beach, which is just delightful. But more than that, I get to walk amongst people. So as much as some people will try to avoid interacting with me, I have this thing that everyone I walk past, so I'm this person. So if you know who, and you know who I am, and you've come across me, you know who I'm, you know me, I will force you to say hello at some point.
I do the same thing.
I'm that person who looks straight at the person because I come from a place that I may be the only person that has actually said hello to them in that day, because I don't know anything about them. I don't know whether they're living on their own. I don't know what sort of support they have around them. All I know is that one person is walking past me, and I know there is an opportunity that I can say hello. So where I'm going with this is sometimes our relationships are things that are quite incidental. It might be our favourite coffee shop and we get to talk to the barista. It might be that we go and pick up the newspaper from the newsagents, and instead of just every day buying that newspaper, you actually get to know them so that they know you as well. So it feels like that's a place, a safe space. It's somewhere you belong.
Connection.
You have that connection.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need to create, or even sometimes force those connections in a way, though, that is actually supportive of us. So sometimes it is simply place. It might be where we live, getting the opportunity to go outside and just saying hello to someone else creates connection.
You know, sometimes even just getting out and being around people, for me, I love to go down the beach, have a walk. And even if I don't talk to anybody, I always feel more connected. I always feel better. My mood always lifts. It's my happy place, admittedly, but it's something that I've always done.
Yeah, beautiful. And what you're doing, Kate, so sorry, this is just me listening and observing what you're talking about. But what I'm hearing there is you're actually taking back control. You're creating these or immersing yourself into these environments where you're not reliant really on anything else. It's about, and yeah, there's people around, or that's an environment that you love to be in. But the less reliant we are on a partner to create our sense of belonging or sense of purpose, a workplace or the job that we do, it's more about us taking back control and going, it doesn't matter what else, who else is in my life. I know that I still feel purposeful. I know that I still feel like I'm of value because I've got these sorts of strategies in my life. And it's actually not reliant on someone else being there to be able to create that for me. I'm doing that. So I'm taking back that power and control.
Now, we've only got a few minutes left, but I just wanted to ask, at the moment there is a huge push on mental wellness. It's a bit of a buzzword. Where do you think this is coming from?
So I hope it's not a buzzword. I really hope people are taking it seriously. Yeah, there's a few bits to this, there's the pandemic, people feeling a little bit isolated, there's stress and pressure. And this isn't perception of stress and pressure. This is real stress and pressure that it's in people's lives. So I completely get it. I have compassion around that. I'm not living that same experience because we all have individual experiences around that, but I get it. So there's that part of it, and it's what every person is actually going through and feeling. And then from a workforce perspective or a workplace perspective, we have this new workplace health and safety law around psychosocial safety and psychosocial injury and the risks around that. My concern with that is that for some workplaces it's a tick a box type thing. So
that's a worry.
It's for me, it's about, let's get real about this, people. Really, how are we affecting our people? Physically, yep, we can put controls and mitigate risk around that. However, there's an education piece. People need to really commit to understanding how workplaces are impacting on their people and how they can put real strategies in place to mitigate that psychosocial risk.
And what do you think the risk is in workplaces where it is just a tick box?
Oh, people will leave. I don't think people will hang around to go through that, people's health, and I think they're taking it more seriously.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm super hopeful that it is not simply a buzzword, that people start to do their research to better understand. As I said earlier, organisationally, we're using things that already exist like the Flourishing scale and getting our people to complete it to get a better sense of, okay, that's what mental wellbeing really is about. And then the next layer is putting self-leadership strategies in place so that we can actually take ownership.
So Tanya, imagine if mental wellness wasn't just a buzzword.
Oh, and everyone took it super seriously and everyone took responsibility for their mental well-being?
Exactly. Imagine what that could look like and what the knock-on effect could be.
And you know what, Kate, there's people, way smarter than me, who are working on this and they've come up with this term, which is quite a collaborative term, and I really like it. And it's called creating a nation's mental wealth. Now, the Queensland Alliance for Mental Health have produced this amazing document. I think it's great, Wellbeing First. And within that, they talk about creating a nation's mental wealth. And it's defined as this collective cognitive and emotional resource of citizens. Now, that's pretty fancy for just basically saying this, for all of us collectively, our mental well-being, if we pooled all of that together and we were operating from that state of flourishing, imagine what that would look like. Imagine participation, imagine the interactions, imagine the conversations that we would be having, imagine the resources that could be created from that. So we're talking about people's mental capital, their mental health and well-being, which basically effectively underpins the ability to work productively, to work creatively, and to build and maintain these really strong, positive relationships with others. My jaw's dropping because you just imagine that if we could create that.
I think that our community would be a very different place and workplaces would be different.
Absolutely.
It would be fascinating to see. Let's hope it goes that way.
That's right.
I'd like to see this concept continuing and growing and flourishing, no pun intended.
Because that's the idea, right? You know, it's about how we continue the conversation, the education, and it's about then, you know, effectively how our nation can nurture this mental capital, this mental health, this mental well-being. So there's a lot of stuff in play here because not everything is within our control. We can't control, you know, education. We can't control the healthcare system, providing workplaces that are psychologically and culturally safe, equal access to opportunity. Like we're talking utopian version, you know, with some of these things. However, we can each play a part in taking back control of how we all show up and about how we're all taking back control of managing our own mental well-being.
Absolutely. It's about fostering that cultural shift. And when we see that shift in ourselves, it can have a knock-on effect, can roll out into the community, into society. I'd like to really see that take hold.
That's that ripple effect, you know,
exactly.
that contagion that we talked about. That's what we want is instead of a social contagion where we're all turning up busy, we're all turning up switched off, you know, and on our phones. Because how many times do you turn up and you notice, you know, even out for dinner, there's couples at dinner and they're both sitting on their phone and scrolling through their phone. Imagine if they put their phone down and they actually sat there and had enjoyed their company together, so enjoyed each other's company.
That's right.
And actually enjoyed that meal together.
And so many people say that that's a teenager thing, sitting glued to their phones. It's not. It's something we've probably all been guilty of in this day and age. But like you said, imagine if people putting their phones down, sitting down and having those conversations, just talking about their day, talking about something exciting that's happening in their lives, even if it's just menial chit-chat. It's interacting, it's growing, it's sharing, it's connection.
100%.
And I think these days so many of us are craving that connection and we've forgotten how to have that connection.
And you know what the best bit about that is that it's simple.
It is.
And it's free. You actually don't need to pay someone to help you to put your phone down.
No.
You don't need to do anything other than step into that opportunity and take it. It's so simple. It seems simple, you know, but it is so simple.
It's amazing how hard some people find it. We've got this new rule in our family, no phones at the table, ever.
Simple.
But it sometimes isn't that simple. But as we're working through that, we're having deeper conversations. Our 8-year-old turned around to me the other day and said, "Mum, how was your day?" I was like, I've never had that from him before.
How cool
great.
is that?
We're getting that connection.
Beautiful. And that's all we can hope for, is that it's a small step, it's small changes that we put into place. And you just see, you know, how that goes. And again, we come back to that simple, is this helping me? Is this harming me? Is it helping my family? Is this harming my family? You know, what are these small shifts that we would like to introduce? Take small steps, one thing at a time, and then just test it and see how it goes.
Just try it.
And you're
If it
seeing
doesn't
benefits.
work,
You're seeing benefits.
it
That's
doesn't
cool.
work.
So
But
what does
you
that mean?
lose nothing for trying.
That's right. And what does that mean for your family? So those real tangible benefits, that one shift of everyone puts their phone down while you're eating together.
Yeah.
What does that one shift mean for your family?
It means more openness and honesty between us. We're finding out more about what is going on in each other's day. We're learning more about the challenges that each of us are facing. And then we're able to come together and offer each other solutions and support and love. And if we had have sat on our phones, that wouldn't have happened.
Maybe you would have missed that opportunity.
Exactly. I think it's definitely strengthened our bond as a family, and as a blended family, that's something that's really important. So it's not something that we'll be dropping anytime soon.
So there you go, people. That is a strategy in action, and that's a benefit, that a lot of other families could create if they're seeing that phones at the table is a problem within their family unit.
I think that just about wraps us up for today.
Great. It's been a great first conversation, Kate. Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, Tanya, for your time and for involving me.
It's been great. Thank you. Thanks so much. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. And episode 2, see you in a month's time.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Stronger Together. Sometimes the issues we discuss in Stronger Together may be triggering for some people. If you have been affected by the topics we have discussed today, please reach out for help. You can call Lifeline 24 hours a day on 13 11 14, or you can use the chat option on their website.
If you live in the Wide Bay Burnett region, you can also reach out to us at Impact Community Services. Go to impact.org.au and click on the Make a Referral button at the top if you wish to self-refer. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if so, please remember to hit the subscribe button. Until next time, remember, we're stronger together.